Good day, and welcome to Windlaz Biotech Limited Q2 FY22 earnings conference call. This conference call may contain forward-looking statements about the company, which are based on the beliefs, opinions, and expectations of the company as on date of this call. These statements are not guarantees of future performance and involve risks and uncertainties that are difficult to predict. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star, then 0 on your touch-tone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Hitesh Windlaz, Managing Director at Windlaz Biotech Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Good evening, everyone, and season's greetings to all of you present on the call today. I hope everyone must have got an opportunity to go through our financial results and investor presentation, which has been uploaded on the stock exchange as well as our company website. For the benefit of all the participants, I would like to discuss about the company in brief, initially followed by financial highlights of the quarter, which will be shared by our CFO, Ms. Komal Gupta. I'm happy to announce that our company has continued to maintain a good pace of growth. The top line grew by 14% and 11% on YOY basis for Q2 and H1. In fact, on an adjusted basis, H1 FY22 grew by 15% YOY. On the operational front, the plant utilization has also improved to 43% for Q2 as compared to corresponding period last year. In our first vertical, the CDMO services and products vertical, where we offer services related to drug discovery, prototype development, technology licensing, and high volume commercial manufacturing of complex generic products in compliance with current GMP to pharma companies, who onward market these products under their own brand name. Our company has consistently maintained strong and lasting relationships with the leading Indian and multinational pharma companies, including 7 of the top 10 formulation companies in India. In this vertical, our Q2 revenue for CDMO services and products stood at 91.2 crores, up 6% YOY, which contributed approximately 79% to the consolidated revenue. Next, our domestic trade generics and OTC brands vertical. This vertical is the fastest growing vertical for our company, and in the past has grown at a CAGR of 27% between FY19 and 21, with the number of brands growing faster than revenue at approximately 30%. The main drivers for this growth are lower price points but similar quality compared to branded generics and growing penetration in rural India. Q2 revenue for trade generics vertical stood at 16.9 crores, up 52% on the back of new product launches and appointment of new stockists. Trade generics vertical contributed approximately 15% to the consolidated revenue. The company is focusing on increasing the number of stockists and distributors network along with increasing number of brands. This, coupled with rising price sensitivity among Indian patients, even supported by government schemes such as Jan Aushadhi Yojana and Ayushman Bharat, are going to drive the next leg of growth for domestic trade generics and OTC vertical. Our third vertical, exports, is engaged in identifying high growth opportunities in semi-regulated international markets and select regulated markets. The motive is to develop and register product applications in order to obtain market authorizations for medicines and health supplements. These products are also subsequently sold by local pharma companies and pharmacies in the respective markets. Q2 revenue for the exports vertical stood at 5.5 crores, up 65% year over year, and the export verticals contributed approximately 5% to our consolidated revenue. The company's overall growth trajectory is expected to accelerate further, underpinned by strong pipeline of innovative products, available capacity, and a growing customer base. Our next 5 years vision is to double the CDMO business, grow our trade generics and OTC by 3x, and grow our export vertical by 4x. This growth will translate to approximately 17% CAGR over the next 5 years at a company level. With this, let me invite Ms. Komal Gupta, our CFO, for the financial performance highlights. Over to you, Komal.
Thank you, Hitesh. I'll now take you through consolidated financial and operational highlights. Let me begin with the quarterly financial highlights. The company continued to report a robust financial performance. On a consolidated basis, net revenue from operations grew 14% YOY to rupees 115.3 crores for Q2 FY22. EBITDA margin stood at 11.9% as against 12.2% YOY. A minor decrease in the EBITDA margin was primarily due to change in the product mix, increased research and development expenses, additional plant manpower, and higher product development or registration. The company also incurred rupees 0.5 crores ESOP related expenses during the quarter. Adjusted PAT stood at rupees 8.3 crores as against rupees 7 crores, up 18% YOY. Now coming to H1 FY22 financial highlights. On a consolidated basis, net revenue from operations grew 11% YOY to rupees 226.2 crores for H1 FY22, while adjusted net revenue from operations grew 15% YOY. EBITDA margin stood at 11.7% as against 12.8% YOY. The company also incurred 0.9 crores ESOP related expenses during the period. Adjusted PAT stood at rupees 15 crores as against 12.3 crores, up 22% YOY. I'll now take you through vertical-wise highlights. CDMO vertical highlights. Q2 and H1 revenue for the CDMO vertical stood at 91.2 crores and 186.9 crores, up 6 and 8% YOY respectively. CDMO vertical contributed approximately 79% and 83% for Q2 and H1 FY22 respectively to the consolidated revenue. Trade generics vertical highlights. Q2 and H1 revenue for trade generics stood at rupees 16.9 crores and 29.2 crores, up 52% and 45% YOY respectively. Trade generics vertical contributed approximately 15% and 13% for Q2 and H1 FY22 respectively to the consolidated revenue. Exports vertical. Q2 and H1 revenue for the exports vertical stood at 5.5 crores and 7.7 crores, up 65% and down 10% YOY respectively. Exports vertical contributed approximately 5% and 3% for Q2 and H1 FY22 respectively to the consolidated revenue. During the quarter, the company has repaid rupees 20 crores of loan which was taken from Bajaj Finance. With almost zero gross debt, coupled with healthy cash and cash equivalents on the balance sheet, the company is net cash positive with liquidity of more than 190 crores. The company has witnessed improvement in the working capital, resulting into improved operating cash flows. The company has utilized rupees 60 crores from IPO proceeds for the various activities mentioned in the RHP out of 152.1 crores, roughly translating into 39% IPO proceeds utilization. Going forward, the company will utilize the proceeds to fund the incremental working capital requirement and capacity expansion and addition of injectables dosage capability, which will further strengthen the company's value proposition while maintaining the strong balance sheet. I will reiterate that our business needs to be looked at on annualized basis rather than quarterly basis. We continue to invest in strengthening our business and expect investments to translate in better revenue and profitability going forward. We can now begin Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Nikesh Shah from Momentum Advisors. Please go ahead.
Hi, I have 2-3 questions. The first question is the CDMO business for first half grew by around 8% YOY, while if you look at IPM data, the growth has been much more. So can you please explain why there is a gap between our CDMO business growth and overall domestic pharma growth?
Sure, Nikesh. See, in the IPM, what you see is a very big growth spurt associated with antibiotics, which were associated with hospitalizations during the COVID second wave. And we are not present in the antibiotics business. So, in fact, that is an area that almost is inaccessible for us to grow, and it's very, very low margin, and we have consciously chosen to stay away from it. The second area is, in terms of new product launches, what we have, our customers are still, getting the medical representatives over into the doctor chambers to do new product launches. I mean, that is not completely remediated until Q2. And we expect that hopefully in Q3 and Q4, some of these, challenges will get better. But this is another reason where new product launches have been slightly slower than, let's say a similar period last year. I think these two are the primary reasons. We don't see, there has been some, changes in, outsourcing versus insourcing by some of our customers. And so there is a little bit of, churn that happens on some of the brands that we manufacture. But we have not seen any structural changes as such. So I hope that addresses your question.
Yeah, understood, sir. Understood. Second thing, sir, can you please share revenue bifurcation in terms of chronic, subchronic, acute, and others, as well as in terms of complex generics or conventional products?
In terms of chronic, subchronic, we can probably share our H1 FY22 revenue is about 60%, and acute is about 40%.
Okay. And in terms of complex generics and conventional?
Complex would be around 73%, 74%, and conventional is about 25% for H1 FY22.
Understood. And then lastly, as of March 2021, we had about 204 customers for CDMO segment. Have we added any more customers in the last 2 quarters?
Yeah. So broadly, the customers that we have served during the period are about 200 only. But so out of 204, there will be some customers for whom there will be sale in the coming H2. So probably it would be a better idea to look at in the full at the end of FY22, because there are surely additional customers that have been added, and there will be a few to whom there will not be any invoicing in H1.
Understood. Thank you. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. The next question is from the line of Amit Shah from ACE Securities. Please go ahead.
Hello. Hi, sir. So my first question would be, sir, what is the highest customers contribution and top 10 customers contributing for H1 FY22?
Highest customer contribution for H1 FY22 is about 13.9%.
And our top 10 customers would be contributing?
Top 10 would be around 54%.
Okay. So do we see this changing in near term?
So near term, Mr. Amit, we don't see much changes happening. But, as a CDMO, we have consciously been focusing on bringing the top client concentration lower, because it reduces our dependence. But that's not by refusing business, but that is by actively growing the other accounts. So we don't see, marked changes in the short term in this.
So FY21, we had 58% coming from top 10 customers, which is now 54%. So broadly in the same range, a little bit reduction.
Understood. Sir, and what is the strategy behind focusing on growing our exports and trade generic business while our core competency is in CDMO? And what is the capital allocation strategy to grow these two businesses?
Sure. So our trade generic business and our export business both have a very, very strong synergy with our CDMO business, because they are essentially served from the same manufacturing plant, right? So our fixed assets are serving all three verticals. So what we and the technologies that we create in the India CDMO business help us being sometimes the most efficient producer, at least comparable to some of the other options around us. So the trade generics business utilizes this efficiency creation capability of the company, whether it is on the supplier side or whether it is in the manufacturing process side, and the overall organization. And we are able to bring these trade generics products to market in rural areas where we are also not competing with our CDMO clients. So that is the main synergy over here. And in fact, our material margins in the trade generics business are higher than our CDMO business. So we want to grow this more aggressively. Also, I feel that India, the opportunity in the trade generics business is incredibly vast and incredibly exciting. Because if you look at the branded generics model, it is by feet on the ground model. So medical reps. Now the large pharma companies have maybe 10,000-15,000 medical reps, but still they are largely concentrated in 400 odd towns in India, where the population is about 1 lakh, because that's where the doctors are there, and so medical rep model works. But there is around 60 to 65% of Indian population living in villages and kasbas, where there are no doctors, and the dispensing is being done by the chemist himself. And this is the vertical this is the market which our trade generic vertical is servicing, where we are providing same quality products at a lower price point and helping tap this very, very big and blue ocean kind of a market. Your question around the exports bit, again, as you know, one of our facilities, in fact, earlier had regulated market approvals also. That facility is a bed for creating better margin, products. We are serving Southeast Asian and some African markets, and there also we are looking to add some, products in the nutraceutical space as well. So both pharma and nutraceutical, and grow that. That growth is, it takes a little bit longer because you have to do the registration and get approvals on the dossier by the authorities of the importing country. But the business is strong. It is, defensible, and also very good margin as compared to our other business. So this is the reason why we have got into these adjacent verticals, and we are excited about growing them strongly. In terms of capital allocation, your second part of your question, there is really no new fixed cost being incurred in either of these, aside from very small dedicated manpower. And the allocation of capital is happening in the export, where we are doing product registrations and market authorization. These are permissions that allow us to export to those countries. So there is that market authorization expenditure. And in the trade generics, it is in the working capital. So as we expand our footprint, as we grow our sales, we grew by 52% this quarter. So obviously we will have to offer credit into the marketplace, and we are very, very disciplined about it. But that is where the capital allocation will go.
Understood, sir. Sir, and my last question is, sir, in our speech we mentioned about 17% CAGR for next 5 years with 2x in CDMO, 3x in trade generics, and 4x in exports. But I understand that trade generic and exports will have a good growth rate due to low base. But can you please explain how are we going to achieve 2x growth in CDMO business? Also, how would our margins look like in the next 5 years?
Sure. In the CDMO business, we are expecting to grow by 3 levers. The first one is that as our customers grow in their own market, the volumes will grow, right? So for the same brand that we have already acquired, it will result in more production towards that brand. The second one is where we are adding new customers. So there is a huge number of customers. Even though we are serving 7 of the top 10 Indian pharma companies, there are 25,000 Indian pharma companies doing marketing in India, and we are still a very small company. So for us, even a mid-size or a decent sized client is a good client. So we are looking to get more of the clients onboarded and start to cater to their outsource requirements. So that is addition of new customers. And I think the third one is new products. And so you would have seen in our presentation also that we have even accelerated some of our R&D spend, which is getting new permission for selling unique and innovative products to our CDMO clients, to our trade generics verticals, both of these. And this is where a lot of the excitement is when we bring new products. Like for example, this quarter we got approval for 2-3 new products, which we are the only company in India to have that regulatory permission. So now we are getting tying these products together with our customers and bringing them on. So this 3-pronged strategy is what is going to yield the growth for the CDMO vertical. And eventually, as we increase our manufacturing footprint, whether it is in we've already talked about injectables as the next area and the next facility that we will add. So there also we will do CDMO and trade generics and exports. So as we increase our manufacturing footprint into other dosage forms, that will also give a fillip and accelerate this entire strategy further and further.
And in terms of margin, we expect the margins to be better with several in long term. The margins are expected to be better than current levels with the addition with higher capacity utilization, because there is some fixed cost which will be same plants will be used, and there will be only very small variable portion getting added. So that is one reason. And as obviously as Hitesh mentioned, in trade generics and exports being higher material margin verticals, with them taking over higher portion in the total revenue from operations, we expect in the long term the margins are going to get better than where we are.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you for explaining so well. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we take the next question, a reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. The next question is from the line of Bianca Singh from Atidan Securities. Please go ahead. Ms. Bianca Singh, your line is in talk mode. Kindly go ahead with your question, please.
Yeah, hi. So I had 2 questions. The first one is, what are the R&D expenses for H1 FY22, and how much are we planning for the next second half?
R&D expenses for H1 FY22 is 2.8 crores.
Okay.
And for rest of the year also we expect around in the same range, a bit lower actually, around 2 crores.
Okay. And I see there is a IPO proceeds utilization for the capex at Dehradun plant. So when are we planning to start this capex, and how much incremental capex is expected?
So we have already started. There is in the capex there was some associated with the use of proceeds, and there were some that the company was going to do from its own internal accruals. That part has already started. It is ongoing. There is a little bit of expansion of the civil structure that is being done, and we are now in the progress of fully laying out the detailed design for the injectable facility, a selection of machinery, negotiations with vendors and such. Our goal is that we bring this up as soon as possible, and engage it in terms of producing for our customers in our own trade generics division. So this is ongoing, and we want to be largely on track. I believe injectable facilities, we had committed that our first commercialization will be somewhere in the period of Feb to March of 2023. So we are at least currently on track.
And how much incremental revenue we expect?
So this
ballpark number?
From injectables?
Yes, correct. From this new capex.
So there is 43 crores of capex for injectables and 7 crores for oral solids in terms of line balancing. And this is what is going to serve for the entire expansion for the 5 years. So as I mentioned that we are looking to grow in the next 5 years by 2x on the CDMO and 3x on trade generics and 4x on exports. So overall revenue will be serviced by this manufacturing infrastructure plus some more that will happen in 2024. So we will go to somewhere. Our current OSD infrastructure is good enough for about 600 crores of revenue, and injectables will thereafter add to that. So that's where roughly I can give you the guidance.
Okay, helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. The next question is from the line of Nitin Agarwal from DAM Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. Hitesh, on the CDMO business, for us, how important is the inorganic growth in terms of adding on new verticals, in our strategy, and what are the thoughts around it?
Sure. So, Nitin, as you very rightly surmised, even in our DRHP, we talked about wanting to be an active consolidator in this space, and there are lots of opportunities also emerging. We have started looking at some IMs that have come our way, but I believe that we have to be very mindful of how we select what we acquire, and then what can we do with it. So that process is a little bit more engaged and time taking. So my sense is that over the next year or so, we will be going a lot more aggressive in this, and hopefully be able to pick up a business which can add complementarity to it, and our strengths can bring more scale to that. So that's something that we've been sort of outlining. Well, my sense is that it will take some more time to find the most appropriate match.
Fair enough. And on the organic CDMO business, as you mentioned, the bulk of the business is chronic driven, and it's acute, which has driven a lot of the growth in the first half of the year. Are you seeing the outlook improving for the chronic business segments, which is a more primary driver of our business going forward, or in the second half of the year?
So we are definitely very optimistic, Nitin. Our customers are also trying to see when they are targeting a launch in cardiovascular or diabetes, or they are targeting launch in urology. Typically, when they work with their physicians, they are able to attend conferences. They are able to do a lot of education for physicians. They are able to bring scientific literature into the physician's room and do that. But still, these things are not happening, and a lot of doctors are still wanting to just see medical reps virtually, or they are not attending conferences. None of the conferences have actually happened. Only virtual conferences have happened. So some of the new launches are somewhat delayed, but there is a lot of interest. We got 3 of the new permissions that we got, which I spoke, DCGI permissions, are all in chronic. There's a lot of interest from customers, large customers, and we are pursuing this. So my sense is that it will eventually follow whether there is a third wave or not, and in how soon our customers are able to meet doctors to do new launches. But we are betting very strongly on this. A lot of our pipeline ideas are in chronic space, and we continue to be quite bullish on this.
Okay, thank you and best wishes.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. The next question is from the line of Akash Mehta from Capas Investment. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for taking my question. I have 2 broad questions based on the investor presentation. When you mentioned the focus on expanding the product development and manufacturing capabilities, mainly in the complex generic products, and thereby taking advantage of the near-term patent expiry of key molecules. So can you throw some light on which key molecules are expiring in the near term, and what is the revenue potential from these drugs?
Sure. So, there are almost 2023 and 22-23 have almost close to about 21 small molecules that are coming up for patent expiry. And beyond that, of course, it's a very rich pipeline. In fact, the pipeline has become very rich, even not just for domestic-focused companies like Windla. There's a lot of excitement about global generics also because of these expiries. Obviously, we are operating in the therapeutic segment that we are in, and therefore, for us, these products will be, in the cardiovascular and diabetes. There'll be new combinations of those coming up for expiry with older molecules. That is where the treatment regimens are moving. Like, for example, in case of diabetes, the most favorable treatment regimen by physicians is about now combining a gliptin with a flozin. And now, as some of these gliptins and flozins are coming off patent, these combinations are taking root. A lot of, we are developing them, and a lot of other companies. So there is another thing that we are doing is, our investment in injectables is also being done with this kind of forethought, because a lot of upcoming patent expiries will happen in the injectable dosage form as well. And from a long-term perspective, that is going to become a very fertile area. And, the portfolio choices are also going to be made based on that.
Okay. And what could be the potential revenue potential from these as such? A ballpark figure?
Very difficult to say, Akash, because when the molecule is still in patent, the innovator pricing is very, very high, right? So when it becomes generic, the kind of price erosion that happens has both the competitive element in the market as well as product cost related things. What happens to the intermediate cost, what happens to the API cost, how are we able to do that? So the eventual pricing that one comes to is a very dynamic and a moving, In fact, we in few years ago we created a API lab where we have started doing some of the upcoming patent expiry molecules at a kilo scale for ourselves, and we have seen huge price, this thing. So very difficult to project the revenue opportunity. We are more focused on bringing the therapy as an option for our customers and creating new combinations, that are rational and desired by our customers for their patients.
Okay. All right. And secondly, the second question was on the market share domain. Basically, you mentioned that you were one of the top 5 players in the CDMO space in India. So what would be roughly our market share? And have we gained the same in the last 3-4 years? And if so, then how much would that be?
So, the top 6 companies have about 21% market share. As told to us by the CRISIL report, which we commissioned during our RFP. Now, if you look at the market, it is a combination of both CMOs and CDMOs, and the number of players is also quite large. At present, the understanding is it's not reported, it's not covered separately by any sort of a market reporting agency. But the understanding is that this CDMO market for India, where we play, is about 20,000 crores, expecting to grow at about 13 to 14% going forward. And Windlass has grown. I mean, last year was exceptional for us. We grew by 30%. Before that, around was lesser. My sense is that we have typically in the past grown faster than overall market, and this is something that it has been done based on growing customers, growing new products, and the aggressive growth on our trade generics and other things. So I sense that going forward, market share is something actually we don't really, we are not necessarily chasing, because see, as a CDMO, if we focus too much on market share, then it results in margin erosion. Because so we want to be selective with deep relationships and around some technical complexity. That's how we have been working so far.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense. I think that's it from my side. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. As there are no further questions, I now hand the conference over to Mr. Hitesh Windlass for closing comments. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining us on this call. Please reach out to our IR consultants, Strategic Growth Advisors, or us directly should you have any further queries. And wishing everyone a very, very happy and a safe Deepavali. Thank you. We can now close the call.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Windlass Biotech Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you all for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.